Hey everybody! It is finally the most wonderful time of the year. Halloween is on its way, and during our annual rewatch of Over the Garden Wall, I was like, yeah, I want to be Wirt for Halloween. Yeah, it's happening this year. I'm gonna be Wirt. I'm gonna do a gender bent Wirt cosplay, and I have a skirt and a shirt that I can use for this. So all I really need to make is the cloak and Wirt's pointy hat thing. Yeah, this build shouldn't be too crazy complicated. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
For the cape, I got a navy blue fabric and a red one for the lining, as well as 6 gold buttons. For the pattern for the cape, all I did was make a circle skirt. I'll leave a link to a tutorial in the description, but basically all you need is your neck measurement as well as the measurement for the length you want for the cape, and you do a little bit of math and you're going to make a quarter of a circle for your pattern using both those measurements. When I got my pattern cut out, I realized I did not have enough fabric to make the size I wanted, which is okay. It totally happens in cosplay. Things don't go the way you want, and you just kind of do some creative problem solving.
I figured it out. So this one's on a half. That will fit, and then I'll have 2 quarter circles, so it'll end up being 3 panels total, but it all fits. I had to cut off 3 inches, so it won't be as long as I hoped for, but I think it'll be fine. This way I can have the most length possible while still making it work, so yay!
Then I just used some chalk to trace the pattern onto my fabric and cut it all out. It ended up looking like a circle, which was the goal, so it worked out, and then I just sewed the seams together. It ended up looking like that, nice and swooshy, and then I sewed the 2 pieces together, leaving the neck hole open. I just flipped it inside out and ironed it, and it was all looking nice and neat.
Alright, it's the next day. All that's really left to do is sew the collar and the buttons on the cloak, and then make Wirt's cone hat.
This is the pattern I used for the collar. I also cut out some interfacing just so the collar wouldn't be so floppy when I was wearing it, and I just sewed the 2 together. And then the next part was the hardest. I then sandwiched the collar between the 2 layers of the cloak, which took a lot of patience and a lot of pins. Now that the collar was sewn on, it was time for the final touches. I added the buttons and made this little button clasp thing using hair ties and some of the fabric, and I added some clasps just to give it some extra help staying closed, and it ended up looking like this. I'm super happy with how this turned out. And then I moved on to the hat. It was basically another quarter circle. I just measured the length that I wanted and then made sure it fit the circumference of my head. And once I cut that out with my foam, I used a hot glue gun to close the seam to make the cone. Gluing it together took some time, but when you're done, you are now ready to play Cones of Dunshire, and you look super cool doing it. Then I took that same pattern and cut it out on my red fabric, making sure I had room for seam allowance and extra room on the bottom, and sewed it together. And with that extra fabric hanging from the bottom, I just glued it up into the inside of my cone, and I got a fancy looking cone hat now.
The costume's all done. All that's left to do today is the makeup and try everything on, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
The makeup wasn't anything too crazy. I used a lot of natural colors, just trying to make my eyes pop. I put a lot of darker shades in the corner and crease of my eye, and I also applied some underneath. I also started using black eyeshadow for liner, and then it's probably overkill, but on top of that I put a little bit of liquid liner. Then I added some false lashes to make my eyeballs pop out of my head. Then just some lipstick and a ton of blush. You can't have too much blush with this look, especially on my nose. And that was pretty much the final look, and it was time to put everything on for the reveal.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. Over the Garden Wall is a Halloween favorite of ours, and it was fun to make Wirt. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it's finally done, and it's super comfy too. I hope you guys have a good Halloween, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! There's a clothesline right up here, and my hat keeps hitting it. Wirt. I'm Wirt with a skirt. Ooh, spooky! Look, it's freaking bats. I love Halloween.